John?
Are we going to talk about the T-shirts first?
Ken, yep.
Maybe Shane could mention that.
Yeah, we can.
Another week, your Joe Zone. All four of us are here. And after a long week for the four of us, and I'm sure for some of you others, we're actually ready to go. So, or ready to do it and be done with it, one or the other. So, first, I want to hand this off to Shane so that he can give you an update on a little side project that we've had going on. So, you guys can all stay informed on that. And then I guess we'll go to John after that. So, go ahead, Shane.
Well, our first shirt thing didn't go through because we didn't sell enough. So I've been looking around locally here, and I've got a friend of mine that's going to do us a really good job on some shirts and good prices too. You've probably seen the post on the page and everything, and we're going to run that through March 10th. That way it'll give her enough time to make the shirts for us and us have them available before the weekend of Joe Lana. So some of the people are wanting to go and wear their shirts there. So it's really good prices on them. She's cutting us a great deal. Kid sizes are going to be $13. Small to extra large will be $14. 2X 15, 3X 16, 4X 17, and 5X will be 18.
Nice.
It'll be black shirts with our logo on the back and a small logo 3x3 logo on the front. So if you ordered before, get in there and order. If you didn't order before, just go in there and post your sizes, what you want, and we'll get the money to me, and then I'll pick them up and ship them out to you guys.
And you've got a PayPal account that you're going to run all that through.
Yeah, it's on the post for everyone. And if you're local, just get me the money, and we'll run like that.
Yep, sounds good to me.
And,
thank you for doing that.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to do another deep dive this week. I think that actually went very well last week. And this time we've decided to switch over to the Cobra side. And guys figured there was really no better place to start than the very top of the food chain when it comes to Cobra. So tonight we're going to do a deepest dive as we can. I'll put it to you that way. We'll see what happens next week and see what we get through tonight into Cobra Commander himself. So let's keep it in the order that we usually do, and let's go to John and see what we got from the past on Coco himself.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so before we get started into the figures, just real briefly, in the comics, the Marvel comics back in the day, Cobra Commander was basically a used car salesman that felt jilted by the government, so he created a terrorist organization, done some real estate schemes and things like that to gain his wealth to be able to fund it, and so it's kind of a to me, I always liked that backstory. I mean, a used car salesman, it just kind of fit. I thought it was kind of cool. The cartoon, however, we find out later on that Cobra Commander was actually a member of Cobra Law. And he had blue skin. I believe it was blue. So he was basically from an ancient race that once roamed the earth and went into hiding and. So two totally different. And the biggest thing about the cartoon, what I hated the most about Cobra Commander in the cartoon was he was just a big baby, a whiner. I mean, he just everything was everybody else's fault. He always blamed it on everybody else, and he just whined, and he just he was portrayed a little bit as a coward too, and to an extent. So, I never was a real big fan of the cartoon version. I like the comic version. But when you get down into it, and this is what I tell people, people want to fuss and argue. You see people, cartoons canon, the comic books canon. Most people's going to say the comic books canon. To me, the toy was first, so the file
Right.
cards, that's the canon.
Yeah,
and I know
exactly.
Larry Hama done the comic and the file cards, but still, to me, I go to the file cards. If you want to say it's canon, then let's go to the file cards because that's where it all started at. So as we read, I'm going to try to read through some of these. Maybe I won't get through all of them, but if you read the file cards for Cobra Commander, he was pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
I mean, the best version, the most evilest version of Cobra Commander is found in the file cards. So we'll go ahead and get started. So obviously, Cobra Commander come about in 1982. He started out as a mail-away figure. You had the 13 Joes, and then you had the Cobra. And the file name or the code name was Cobra the Enemy. Then you had troopers and you had officers, but they were all called Cobra or Cobra the Enemy. And even Cobra Commander was Enemy Leader was his file name or was his code name according to the file card. It wasn't until later on when the code name was given to him as Cobra Commander, even though they referred to him as Cobra Commander all the time. But it was sort of like when it started out, it was this terrorist group that nobody really knew anything about. And you just knew that there were a bunch of bad guys trying to take over the world, and there were a lot of mysteries surrounding them to start off with until you got into more and more characters and got more in depth into it. But anyway, so in 1982, the Cobra Commander started out as a mail away. And, of course, all right, now you don't need to be in part of the show. All right, Nancy, come get your cat. Okay.
Famous cat.
So the very first Cobra Commanders that came out, and I meant to got my light where I could have shined some light on this scene, but you might be able to see that. Had what they refer to as the Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander. Trying to get it where you can see it in the light, maybe. And anyway, it looks like he's got mouse ears, and there's not that much detail to the Cobra insignia. The second version that come out later, there you go. Go to Mama. Okay. The second version that come out later, you could tell it had more detail to the Cobra emblem. Okay. So even though they were both mail-ins starting out, there were believed to be a few of the Mickey Mouse Cobra Commanders that was included with the Sears Missile Command Center. I think it was a very few number. The majority of them had the regular Cobra Commander in it. So you had the variation right off the bat. The Cobra emblem didn't quite. It was kind of generic, causing it to look like it had mouse ears, and then they put a little more detail in it. And then you had what we know now as the Cobra Commander. Then the next year, of course, in 1983, you had version 1.5, which, of course, was a swivel arm Cobra Commander. Obviously, I'm not going to mess with it too much because these things are fragile as old as they are. So,
yeah.
So you had the swivel arm, and he actually come carded. And as you can tell, the first mailaways for Cobra Commander, the card backs were just the rough cardboard. Now later on, when they done any of the Hasbro Direct, or like with, I believe perhaps some of the ones from the Sears set came with some red card backs later on. But the original mail-ins were just a solid, like a old brown cardboard type.
Like the inside of a box, right?
Right, the inside of the box.
Yeah.
And then of course Cobra Commander, you can see the part of it says with new swivel arm movement. So he come out on the card. So basically, the file card was the same. Actually, all the way up to the technically the second iteration or second version of Cobra Commander, which was also a mail-in 1984, I believe, 84, 83, somewhere in there. The hooded Cobra Commander, which was obviously in the same body, it just had instead of a helmet head, it had a hooded head. And it was a darker blue with gold trim instead of black. It's hard, especially to find one loose. I mean, this one would technically be in mint condition, but if you look real close, the gold deteriorates off of these real easy. I don't know if you noticed his second belt, his bottom belt,
Yeah, you mentioned that
see-
before. Yeah.
See how it's
Yep.
not. It's just kind of deteriorated off
Hmm.
of them. For some reason, the gold colored paint that they used back then, it just didn't last for some reason.
Hmm.
But anyway, so the file card, obviously, and the hooded file card had this exact same information as the other. I'm going to just read it. It says that Cobra Commander's primary military specialty is intelligence, secondary is ordnance, and experimental weaponry. And his grade is Commander in Chief. Of course, his file name is birthplace is classified. It says absolute power, total control of the world, its people, wealth, and resources. That's the objective of Cobra Commander. This fanatical leader rules with an iron fist. He demands total loyalty and allegiance. His main battle plan for world control relies on revolution and chaos. He personally led uprisings in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and other trouble spots, responsible for kidnapping scientists, businessmen, and military leaders, then forcing them to reveal their top-level secrets. It says, Cobra Commander is hatred and evil personified, corrupt, a man without scruples, probably the most dangerous man alive. And when you read his file card, that's a true terrorist there. That's evil made over when you read his file card. He was just an all-around just bad guy. So that's Cobra Commander. And so that was Cobra Commander 1982 up to about 1984. Then the next time we see Cobra Commander is in 1987. And that's with the battle armor version, as you can see there. Which, by the way, just to note, I didn't mention this, but all the Cobra Commanders, even the hooded one. Sir?
You're just saying hey to Jared.
Oh, okay. Hey, Jared.
Hey, Jared.
So it was the same, like I said, the same mold, the same gun that come with all the originals that would just pop into his back there. And it was just basically a laser pistol. Okay. So he come with one accessory, but then when he come out in 1987 with the battle armor, he had another some type of laser pistol, and some kind of fancy high-tech backpack. I never really was sure. I think maybe this was actually up. I always put it on his back like this.
Yeah.
But and one of the most common lost part to it, of course, is the tube that hooks on his helmet. It's really hard to find one of these with that hose. So if you do, it's probably going to cost you a little extra money to get it. If you find an original hose, it's probably going to cost you a little money, probably $15 or $20, maybe more than that now. I don't know.
You're going to get hosed getting the hose, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So this file card that come with the 1987 Battle Armor Cobra Commander, and also that was when they had the refrigerator Perry mail in, because you can see that on the back of the card there. It says Cobra Commander likes to be up front in the thick of the action when his Vipers, Eels, and Sieges confront the G.I. Joe team, to protect their leader in the heat of battle. The best technical minds of Destro's Armament Factory created a special suit of body armor that combines flexible, bulletproof polymer fabrics with beryllium steel plate components. The entire suit is air-conditioned, solvent-resistant, and ray-shielded. The helmet is fitted with an integral commo system, internal readouts for environmental quality, and a miniaturized computer display. Pretty high-tech suit.
Yeah.
Okay. At least we don't have to worry about Cobra outfitting whole units with these suits. Each one costs about as much as a jet fighter. The plate parts can withstand a direct hit from a heavy machine gun, and the flexible parts will stop anything up to a .357 Magnum. We suspect that the helmet has an anti-tamper device with a direct hookup to a half-pound of plastic explosives. In other words, you knock him out, you try to take his helmet off, you're going to take you and him both out with you if you try to remove his helmet. So that's Battle Armor Cobra Commander. Okay. Of course, this is a totally new sculpt when it came out. I don't know. I remember when it came out, I kind of liked it as a kid. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought, man, that's like, he's like Iron Man, It's like, So pretty cool. All right. So the next time we see Cobra Commander, let me make sure I got these in the right order here. I'm pretty sure I do. So the next time we see Cobra Commander, we won't see him again for another 4 years in 1991. Now, it took a kind of an odd turn in 1991. We come up with this more lighter blue Cobra Commander. And my O-ring, as you can tell, he's real loose. I'm going to have to replace the O-ring in this guy pretty soon. But this is the 1991 Cobra Commander.
Hated that. I hated it.
Yeah. Not my favorite.
No.
I do have and I'll have to dig it out. I need to post a picture, but I actually have a customized 25th style Cobra Commander based off this character. It's a darker blue, and it actually looks pretty cool. I'll have to dig it out and show it. I may have it here. I might be able to dig it out before the show goes over. But so there was a variation on this figure. I only have the one, but if you can look real close, I mean, you can roughly see that there's a face behind that shield, but there's no detail.
Yeah.
So the variation is there was some that was like this, and then there was some where you could actually, the eyebrows were darkened in where you could actually see his eyebrows through the visor. So you had an eyebrow and a no eyebrow version of this. His Audi came with a gold machine gun,
Mm-hmm.
and then he come with it was like a what do you call it? Like a probe or a scanning device.
Some kind of drone.
Or drone. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. With a kickstand on it. And you had the kickstand so you can launch it, where it wouldn't just launch right across the ground. You can pop it up there. And it's got a hook here. And let's see. I'm going to see if I can fly this thing here.
It works.
I hadn't done this in a long time, so let's see what happens. I'm just going to get him over here where we got a little.
Don't put
See
your
how far
eye-
it goes here. Right? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Hey, it went a little. Pretty impressive area.
Absolutely.
Look like
Okay.
it retreated.
Yeah, so it says on this file card, it says totally ruthless and utterly devoid of conscience. It's like, man, this guy gets worse and worse every day.
I was going to say.
Cobra Commander wants nothing less than to completely dominate the world through terrorism, social tyranny, and economic slavery. He is basically an ingenious hustler and junk bond salesman with visions of grandeur, backed by legions of Cobra Vipers, a small Air Force and Navy. A stickler for detail, Cobra Commander keeps track of his most remote Vipers with his radio-controlled buzz bomb flying surveillance weapon. That's what that is. Equipped with wide-scan view monitor and thermal imaging enhancements. Says most dictators and would-be Napoleon types are hampered by the need to pretend that they are pursuing a noble and just cause. Cobra Commander does not have that problem. This guy is in it for the money and the power. And if anybody else is interested in these things, he can pick up an assault rifle and get in line behind him.
Let's go. Cobra.
Line up.
So the bad just keeps getting badder. Okay, so starting in 1991, and we know the vintage line, what most people consider the vintage line, ended in 1994. They put out a Cobra Commander every year those last 4 years.
Oh, good.
Okay, so that was 1991. 1992, not only did you have a Cobra Commander figure, but you could hear him talk with his sound, what do they call these? These weren't the supersonic fighters; those come later. This was actually mounted to his back. You couldn't take it off. I mean, you can, but I think you'd have to take it apart and screw it out. But there were 4 figures. This was one of them. I think it was Hawk, Stalker, and Overkill. That's where the first figure of Overkill came from. He actually had one of these battle commander backpacks. I think is what they were called. It had 4 different battle sounds. I do not have batteries to go in. It takes like watch batteries. So, and I took the batteries out a long time ago because I did not want it to, corrode. So
Yeah.
I do not have batteries in it, but I know one of them, he hollered Cobra or Cobra, And then he had I can't remember what the other three were, but they were like battle commands that he would give out on the field. So, so now Cobra Commander could actually talk. And
I bet one of them was retreat.
I think you're right. I believe what I'm doing. Now, I did kind of like this. Kind of goes back more close to his original type outfit with just a little bit more flair to it. I didn't really like I like the kind of lighter blue. I mean, it's not as light as the original, obviously, but it's pretty. I mean, it's a little lighter. The yellow stood out a little too much. I think maybe if that'd been more of a toned down a little bit, I don't know. But still, it's pretty neat figure. I mean, you got the he's hooded, so you got the hooded Cobra Commander back. So this is the second iteration of a hooded Cobra Commander, and he came with a stand, a laser rifle, laser pistol, whatever you call that thing. And then he come with this rocket launcher, which I only have one rocket. So if anybody actually has a spare one of these laying around, I'd be willing to buy it from you. Just let me know. I need one more to complete it. But it's more of a soft, flexible. The ones that come out later on in the 2000s, they were more of a harder plastic. So I thought I had one, and when I got it, I got to looking at it. And it's I think it's the 2000 version, so I'm still needing one for that one. But that clamps onto his arm, and it's got shielding, so basically he can fire these two rockets and be shielded from it. So real quick, how we doing on time? 21 minutes. Okay, good. So let me read his file card for this version. It says Supreme Commander of the Cobra Legions, contraband arms merchant, international terrorist, and real estate swindler. Cobra Commander is the ultimate foe of G.I. Joe, although no Cobra Vipers or even his most trusted officers have ever seen the face of Cobra Commander. They're all too familiar with the nasty sound of his voice, screeching the Cobra battle cry while exhorting the Viper legions to attack or shout dire threats. Implicit in every word he utters, this ruthless leader's principal's desire is to totally crush the G.I. Joe team. Cobra Commander can operate any Cobra vehicle in the organization's arsenal. He especially enjoys operating the Cobra Rat and the Parasite, which he named himself. And, the Cobra Rat and Cobra Parasite are not... They're not two of my. They're way down on my favorite vehicle list. I'll put it that way. They're kind of odd. They're kind of odd vehicles. It's back. Some of that weird stuff that come out there in the 90s. But of course, you can see how they kind of promote the vehicles with the file cards.
Yeah.
We saw that with Bazooka last time with the what was it? Was it the Avalanche? I think I forgot now, but the Tiger Shark, I believe it was the Tiger Force. Yeah. So. Okay, so that was 1992. Now, I do not have the 1993 Cobra Commander. I don't know if, Rick, were you able to get both of those pictures? So the 1993 Cobra Commander was from the Star Brigade. And it was yet another odd figure. He almost looks like his outfit almost looks like a military police. That almost looks like a badge, that yellow thing.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
That's what it reminds me of. Anyway,
yeah.
You can pop his head off and stick Law's head on there, and there you go.
Yeah.
He had a real bulky helmet. It's kind of really weird. And the file card to this one's similar to the last one. And I can't hardly see it there, so I'm not going to read through that one, but it's very similar. There we go. Okay, maybe I can see that now. Okay, so it's this Supreme Commander of the Cobra Legions. Cobra Commander is the ultimate enemy of G.I. Joe. Although no one knows his true identity, it's common knowledge that he's the most diabolical villain imaginable. Boy, he just gets eviler and eviler. Because he has failed so far in his plans to take over the Earth, thanks, of course, to the courage, skill, and firepower of G.I. Joe forces. Cobra Commander is heading into space to set up battle stations on the moon and strengthen his troops. G.I. Joe's Star Brigade must stop him before he gains power or risks destruction on Earth, space, and the entire human race. If he can't beat them on the ground, he's going to take it to the air, right?
Yeah, right.
All the way to the moon. So that's the 1993. To the moon, Alice, to the moon. Okay. So to me, that's one of the more odder Cobra Commanders.
Yeah.
I still kind of put it one notch ahead of this one. I don't know. That's just kind of weird. So anyway, the 1994 Battle Corps Cobra Commander, which is basically the Battle Commander Cobra Commander, as we saw earlier, without the backpack. Now the back on these were flat. I have taken it. I have to take this part to get it out, and it's flat. So they did do a new mold for the back part of this, but it's basically, other than that, it's the same Cobra Commander. This one, I personally myself, I really like this one. It's basically black, or maybe it look like a really, really, really dark blue, but it looks black to me. And the silver, and I think that kind of goes really well with it myself. I know everybody's got their own opinion, but to me, since the Battle Armor Cobra Commander, this was probably the best one. So you're talking about almost 7 years there. They finally got a decent looking Cobra Commander, in my opinion. But I thought this was I thought the color scheme went well.
Cool.
Of course, the Battle Corps. One thing they always come with is a rocket launcher with it. Usually most of them come with 2 rockets, and then they come with a stand, and then they come with a bevy of weapons. So you got, I don't know, this is some kind of machine gun.
Something.
You got I don't know what this is. This is basically looks like the one that the Toxo Viper came with, only in silver instead of black. So that you got that. Then you got another, like a rifle. That almost looks like a machine gun. That looks like a Gatling gun, kind of in a way.
It was a flamethrower from Charbroil.
Oh, is that what? Okay,
you go.
you're right. It is. It was, wasn't it? Yeah, because there's the notch for the.
And the first gun was from Vulture.
Yeah.
It's funny how you paint them a different color now, you can't even recognize
Yeah,
them.
right.
Totally different. And then, of course, you had this big rifle here.
You got PSG-1.
So he come with plenty of accessories. He was loaded down with them.
They all come on a tree then, didn't they? When
They
all on a
did.
tree.
Those did. Those come on a tree. And we didn't mention on that last Cobra Commander, the space one, the backpack thing he had suction cups in it. If I'm not mistaken, you're supposed to be able to stick it on a window, and he'll actually crawl down the window. I never had one, so I don't know if it works or not. I'm interested. That's on my bucket list. I want to get that one. I want to find out if that works. If it really works, that would be pretty cool.
I seen it today when I was looking for that figure. So I'll get it and make a little video and send it to you.
All right. Okay. All right. So this file card for this Cobra Commander, and I'm about to run out of time, so I'm probably gonna read this one, and that'll be it for the. So he says, why don't those Joes get out of my way and let me rule the world like a tyrant should? So look, I just got a quote from him. Supreme Commander of the Cobra Legion's contraband arms merchant, international terrorist, and real estate swindler, Cobra Commander is the ultimate enemy of the G.I. Joe. Although no Cobra Vipers or even his trusted Crimson Guard commanders have ever seen his face, they know the man behind the mask is the most diabolical villain imaginable. This ruthless leader's principal desire is to totally crush the G.I. Joe team and take over the world while he's at it. His numerous attempts to accomplish this distorted dream of world dominance have so far been foiled by the Joes, but they are always on the alert because Cobra Commander keeps coming back stronger and stronger with increasingly destructive weapons and vehicles. And he gets just meaner and meaner every time, right? So.
It's because he keeps losing.
Yeah, it kind of leaves a sour note in his mouth. Yeah. Okay, so the next one, so that was 1994. Okay, the next Cobra Commander that come out with the Toys R Us in 1997, 1998. Toys R Us done some exclusive sets, some 3-packs, and there was I think Destro, Baroness, and Cobra Commander, and he was back in his battle armor, and a really neat take on it with the gold, dark blue, gold, and red trim.
Interesting, huh?
I've got to give me a better light. Now, this one came with the vintage 1982 style gun. However, it does not fit on his back like the old ones did because it's, like I said, it's the mold. It did come with a stand, and that was it. It did not come with a hose, even though there's a hole there. And if you'll notice, the side's smooth. There's no peg for the hose, so there's a hole in the mouth, but there's no peg, so there's no hose that came with it. I guess they figured too many.
Anyway, so.
What's that?
I said they knew we'd just lose it anyway. So
that's what I'm figuring. They said, well, they're just going to lose it. We'll just save some money, not even put it in there. So they quit putting the hose in there. They said, we're not going to put the hose with this one. So that was, and oddly enough, the file card on this one, it actually, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because I'm out of time, but on the first line says Cobra Commander actually started out as a used car dealer, but increasingly began to believe the government and big business were out to get the little guy. So they basically took this from the Marvel Comics, the file card for this one, which I thought was kind of cool. So that was the 1997 Cobra Commander. So no more Cobra Commanders again until 2000 when they come out with a collector's, the special collector's edition in 2000, 2001. Then we go back to that Cobra Commander, and it's real close to the 94 version. This is definitely dark blue. This has got to be, I mean, maybe my scene, but I'm definitely calling this one black. But he had a small Cobra emblem here. They made it larger. I don't know if you can see that, but it covers up. It's kind of covered by the bandolier goes across there. This one I really liked. I like the dark blue and the bigger Cobra emblem on it. I thought it was pretty neat. He come with the same accessories as the top.
Oh. Nancy must have hit the pause button for some reason. It's
a plot from Cobra. He's giving away too many of their secrets.
Yeah, right.
Hello, John. Can you hear us, John?
This was the best part of his presentation, too, when we just missed it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a major malfunction there, huh?
Just a little bit.
Well, we give him a couple more seconds, see what happens.
It dropped him.
Dropped him off completely. Something happened to his internet.
Wait till he pops in. Of course, that's one good way to make him shut up. Hey, watch that clock. There he is.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we don't either. Looked like Nancy hit the pause button. You were just dead. That was it.
Okay. I guess I lost internet connection there for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, so I'm finished. So we were talking about the 2000 Cobra Commander. This guy. Okay.
Yep.
And he come packaged with Chameleon, who is actually, according to the file card, Baroness's half sister. And Baroness was, according to the file card, she was injured in a accident. So they took her and put her in G.I. Joe jail, I guess, in the whatever you call it. They put her in the brig, and so her sister went under plastic surgery to look like her sister, the Baroness, and then she kind of become a double agent for the G.I. Joe team. And I'm really hoping. I love I don't know if you. I mean, this is not really Cobra Commander related, but I love the black with the red highlights. And I really would love if they would do this character for the classified line. That would be cool. So anyhow, you had Cobra Commander and a Chameleon, and real quick, the last figure, they go back to the battle armor in 2001. They put the hose back on, so they give him the hose back. Of course, he comes with the same backpack and a stand, but this time he comes with an Uzi instead of his normal gun that he come with. And this one was packaged with the Laser Viper. So
Was it made in Canada?
no, this was made in China.
Oh, okay. Because the Canadians are hosers, so they would have put the
Yeah, that's
hose.
right. Yeah, we're going back now.
You know,
Take off,
to
man.
me, you know, the vintage packaging was the best because of the card art. But to me, this was the second best packaging art. I don't know why this was just so eye catching to me. With the helicopter over here it is.
Yeah, the
And
Apache.
I just really liked the design of the packaging. I thought it was pretty good.
Yep.
So anyway, that's Cobra Commander, and I do believe, oddly enough, that the 2001 Cobra or 2000 Cobra Commander, the file card is exactly the same as the original. So they went all the way back to the original. The wording for this part, it don't have the quote at the bottom. But this part here is exactly the same as this part.
Cool.
And so I thought that was pretty neat. They kind of went back to the basics on it. So
Nice.
I really like that. So there you go. That's Cobra Commander from 1982 to 2001.
Nice. Good job, John.
Any questions?
No.
I'll give you an answer. I don't guarantee it'll be correct or not, but I'll give it.
Yeah, how many hooded versions were there?
So you got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 out of all those. Yeah.
Nice.
Which three of them were basically this one,
Right.
That same mold. But yeah.
Are you accusing Hasbro of repaints?
No way.
That never crossed my mind.
No, absolutely.
Oh my
not.
gosh, those are just repaints. I just realized that. Man, I can't believe that.
Nice.
I will say the Toys R Us, I mean, I don't know, I mean, it's got a good quality to it, but the plastic still, it feels like it maybe just, I don't know, it just feels a little different, even though it's still pretty sturdy.
Softer. Yeah.
Yeah, the 2000. Well, I mean, actually, it feels pretty much the same. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of like it's just a little softer.
Yeah.
And maybe that's. I mean, hopefully, this is the better material that don't deteriorate over time.
Yeah.
Or become
Right.
brittle.
Hopefully. Right.
I don't know, but
I don't either.
yeah,
The thumbs and the crotch were supposed to be more durable with the new plastic.
Yeah, makes sense. If they got some little flexibility to them, it might make it so that they're not as well. They wouldn't be as brittle.
It's
So.
nothing worse than losing your crotch in battle. That's just
Absolutely not. Split your elbow, lose your crotch, and your O-rings come all unglued. It's worse.
Pop
Nothing.
your
nothing
thumb
worse.
off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, blow an O-ring, bust an
That's
elbow.
That's why. Here's a word of advice to vintage collectors: if you have any 1982 straight arm GI Joes, do not. I repeat, do not try to put the weapon in their hand because you will lose a thumb. It don't matter. You'll snap that thing right off.
Yeah.
Yep.
I learned that the hard way. I had a straight arm stalker, and I went to put his gun in there and pop. His thumb broke off. Oh man! So I went to put it in the other hand and pop. The 4 fingers broke off on the other hand.
Wow.
So he's like this. He's like or that. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, that plastic has not aged well, but I think we all kind of know that already. So, just from even if we don't collect it, we've come in contact with it. So,
yeah. I mean, my advice on displaying. I mean, you can do different things. I get Terry Runn. He's a guy you've probably seen in some of the groups. He sells these, and I love these. I mean, and he's even he's got some with the character cards with file card printed on the back. But to me, this is one of the best ways to display vintage Joes if you don't have them loose. To me, that's one of the best ways. So,
yep, I agree.
Something, and don't put them on a stand because you'll break a heel too. Yeah. That's another thing. I had a tripwire broke his heels off. He was mint condition, and both his heels broke off when I tried to put him on a stand. And so yeah, the best thing to do with them is just have them real careful. Put them in something like that to display them, and don't touch them ever again.
I gotta say, Joe, nobody can call you a quitter. You busted the stalker, both the stalker's hands and both the tripwire's feet, because you just wouldn't quit.
Fortunately, yeah.
Sure, you're not a member of Cobra.
And and this was like early 2000s. So many things were only a little over 20 years old. But I did actually find the arms for Stalker. The Stalker I have is that Stalker. I just replaced his arms. I was able to find 2 straight arms with good paint, and the hands were. So you can't do that now. If you find a straight arm in mint condition now, you're going to pay literally an arm and a leg for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right.
I feel on the crotch too.
I wasn't going to go there, but thanks.
I will.
Yeah, it seemed like the first wave didn't really have that problem because they had what they call, I guess, a diaper crotch. It looked more like so they were thicker, so they were a little more sturdy in that area, but the fingers and thumbs, you forget it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Good job, John. Thank you very much.
Right.
You ready, Shane?
I reckon so.
Well, let's go for it then.
Throw out them Valor versus Venom figures for us, sir.
Oh, I'm here. I ain't got no pictures because I don't want to send 5 million pictures, Rick. But anyway, I'm going to pick up on 2002. I'm not going to cover all the figures I've got written down. I'm just going to cover a few because there's literally like 40 of them here. But I'll just cover a few, hit a few spots. In 2002, they picked back up with G.I. Joe versus Cobra. And Cobra Commander version 11 was released as part of the 18th series. It was carded in a 2-pack with Duke. It was blue and black. And it was released again in a 2-pack with Snake Eyes version 13, and then released again later with version 14 Snake Eyes. It was also re-released in a DVD pack and VHS pack later in the year. Then on to 2004, you got Valor versus Venom. You had a black and red version then. It was the version 17, and it was released as part of the 20th series and was carded in a 2-pack with version 13 Duke. You also got version 19, which was gray and gold, and was released with the 20th series and was carded in a 2-pack with version 16 Duke. Also, you got version 18 that year. It was released as a 3-pack in the 20th series. The pack included V6 Baroness and a version 2 Cobra Trooper and a reprint of the G.I. Joe comic number 1. This one I really did. I wasn't into the Valor versus Venom stuff at all, but after researching this, the 2005 Valor versus Venom Cobra Imperial Procession. It was a Toys R Us exclusive. It included, and they were red and black. Yeah. They were really nice looking.
Nice looking, yeah.
They included the version 21 Cobra Commander, the version 8 Baroness, and version 1 Cobra Imperial Guard, which I don't know if there was any other Imperial Guards released after that. You guys may know if it was or not, but I didn't.
I don't know.
No, I think that was on the one.
I could never find anything else about it.
And that was the this version, the 91, that version from the sound in red and black, which is I thought that was a pretty cool set.
It was a really nice looking set. Like I said, I didn't do the Valor versus Venom or the Spy Troopers or anything like that, but that was a really, really nice looking set. And I'm going to try to find one of those.
That's why you liked it, because it was the original mold. It wasn't.
It was. I mean, they all looked really good.
Yeah.
They weren't like the other Valor versus Venom figures with the big bulky shoulders.
Yeah.
With a tiny head. They actually looked really good. And so 2006, we didn't get a Cobra Commander in 2006. One year that I found they didn't do a Commander in that whole series, and it was still the Valor versus Venom series. Mm-hmm. And then 2007, we move on to the 25th anniversary releases, and there was absolutely a ton of Cobra Commanders on the 25th anniversary. One I really did like that while researching him was the version 37. It was released in the Target exclusive Ultimate Battle Pack. The set included a Cobra vehicle gunner, version 21 Destro, version 3 Hiss driver, version 6 short fuse, version 11 Sergeant Stalker, and version 5 Stiller. It also included a flight pod, a Hiss tank, and a Mobat.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice looking set. If
Nice set.
you has seen it, it was really, really good looking. Then when they started with the comic packs, you guys know about that. When they jumped back from version 37 to version 27 that same year, it was the first wave of the comic pack celebrating the 25th re-release of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. The comic included version 24 Duke and a reprint of issue 24 of the Marvel comic series, and included a redemption offer for Operation Rescue Doc. Then on to, like I said, there was just a ton in the 25th anniversary that they released in DVD and comic packs. They even did the DVD packs, battle pack set that included a Snake Eyes version 37, version 10 Major Blood, version 2 Quick Kick. The DVD was part of the Pyramid of Darkness miniseries. It also was a component of the mass device, and it was the transport chassis. And then the version 36 was released with a DVD battle pack set as well. And it comes with version 5 Alpine, Cobra Paratrooper, which I believe was the first Cobra Paratrooper that was released, version 29 Duke, and a Cobra Claw. And it also included a DVD of the best of the 80s episodes, and also a component for the mass device was the beam emitter. It was also re-released for the 50th anniversary, which was as John told me, was the original release of the 12-inch dolls line. And then, let's see, get a few more. Version 41 was another one. It was a hooded Cobra Commander. It was released as part of the Cubist set. The Cobra set. Can't read my own handwriting. It included a version 12 Baroness, a version 30 Storm Shadow, a version 20 Viper, and a version 15 Zartan. In 2011, we got a version 45. It was released in the third wave of the Pursuit of Cobra. So that's when the movie started coming out and everything.
Yeah.
So version 48 was released in the second wave for the 30th anniversary, and it was blue and black with a silver mask. And then I'll move on to 2012. It was version 49A and version 49B. Version A was a black Cobra Commander, the black suited Cobra Commander with the metal mask. And then the version B was blue with the same mask. It was an Amazon exclusive for the G.I. Joe Retaliation Premiere Pack. The pack included version 21 Roadblock, version 56 Snake Eyes, and version 43 Storm Shadow. Version 49A was later available in the first wave of the single figures of Retaliation. It was also made available in 2013 in the first wave of the Retaliation line. Version 53 was released in the third wave of the G.I. Joe Retaliation. This figure had two heads. One head was the regular shiny face, and the other was the hooded head, which I do believe that was the last year we got a hooded Cobra Commander. Version 52 was also released to discount and online retailers. 2014, we didn't get a Cobra Commander in that year. Let's see, there was one here. Oh, yes. 2015, the 50th anniversary. version 36. It was the re-release of the DVD battle pack of the Mass Device. Then in that same year, we get a Cobra Commander Old Snake. I don't know if you guys remember that one. It was released in 2015 in the G.I. Joe and Transformer line from the Transformer Collectors Club. He was in a 3-pack with 2 advanced stealth bats. And he was dressed in a long trench coat with a hat for a disguise. 2017, we got version 55, and it was released in the G.I. Joe featuring Ninja Force and Transformer box set from the Transformers Collector Club. It also included a version 16 Scarlet, Dr. Sidney Bingles Jones. I hope I said her name right. Biggles, and a Megatron and a Rat Bat. It was the version 56 was boxed with an in a convention exclusive Missile Command headquarter playset. It was available through the San Diego Con and included a version 4 Cobra Trooper and version 12 Cobra Officer. Then in 2018, we got 2 figures, only got 2 figures, and either one of them was a Cobra Commander. One of them was a female Cobra Officer in a version 2 Rampart. And then move on to the G.I. Joe Sigma 6 TV series. It ran from 2005 to 2006. We got a Cobra Commander Battle Damage, Cobra Commander Blackout, and Cobra Commander Windfire. I don't know if you guys know that, those figures or not, but with I thought they were pretty cool. And Super 7, they give us a bunch of figures right now, so I'm pretty close to where we're at now on figures. The little bitty 5 points of articulation figures, they've given us a royal blue, dark blue with a red cape, and a dark blue. And also, I didn't know this, a San Diego Comic-Con Glow Patrol Cobra Commander. And then they also gave us a Cobra Commander Ultimates that it was up for pre-order. And I don't reckon anyone's got them yet. But now we're back to the classified. And you all know we've got 4 of those so far. We've got the Cobra Commander in the dark blue, the Regal Blue Commander, the Cobra Commander Supreme, and the one we're all waiting on, the Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander with the hiss. So I didn't want to cover all those. So I didn't want to take up a whole bunch of time so we could get everybody in this week. But there is literally a ton of Cobra Commander figures that we could talk about. And all of them looked really good except for the Spy Troopers and Valor vs. Venom. They're pretty much hot garbage. I did find one that I did like, Imperial Procession. It was really nice looking.
What year was that? 2007?
It was 2005.
2005. I gotta look that set up. I think I've seen it before, but
it was a Toys R Us exclusive.
Yeah.
And it looked really good. I just liked the red and black. It made all 3 of them was the same, colors.
Yeah.
It just stood out. Really good looking figures. But like I said, I didn't want to send Rick a whole bunch of pictures and just load him down with them because I don't have any of those figures.
Yeah.
But
hey Rick, did you get the one I just emailed you?
The what?
I just emailed you a picture of the version 54. Can we take a look at that? Because to me, that's the best Cobra Commander figure that they've done in the 25th style. It come with a 50th anniversary Toys R Us pack. Come with shipwreck.
oh,
You
yeah.
had
I had that up on the screen.
Yeah.
How that came.
I sent you a picture of just the Cobra Commander with all of his accessories.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got it or not, but to me, that is a beautiful figure. If you know the one I'm talking about.
The Hunt for Cobra pack.
Yeah.
Was it not? Yeah, and it was nice too.
I gotta say, some of the movie figures were much better than the movie. That's for sure because they were a lot more at the time comic current than they were having anything to do with the movie.
Yeah,
They were really, some of them were very good figures.
They were really good looking figures.
Good
And
job.
the old Snake figure, to me it was comical because he had on a silver mask, and he had on a brown trench coat with a brown hat pulled down, and it was just comical to me.
Yeah.
Like, you can't see that silver mask.
You know where that come from?
So old.
That was actually in one of the Transformers cartoons.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that
He
in a
made a
second.
guest appearance. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm not going to go on that.
Yeah, I found an interesting article on that. It's just a quick little write up, but I mean, I thought it was interesting, and it seems as though I remember seeing that, but I don't remember. But it's funny. Yeah, it was cool though.
One to me that was the best was the one where it had the swappable heads with the mask, the silver mask and the hood, because it also had like where you just have him with no mask or hood on at all, and he was a blonde-headed guy, you know.
Yeah.
And it was kind of
interesting.
I know the movie, the Pursuit for Cobra, they portray him as the Baroness's brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he gets blowed up in a explosion in Iraq, yada yada yada. And then he becomes evil.
Right.
He thinks they left him behind. So yeah, that was far-fetched for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if Rick was able to pull that picture up, but
and then my computer is screwy. If I don't have time to prep for this,
that was
in a proper place. It just puts it wherever the
Can you see that
and stuff? So
that's the one right there, and he's got a red hood that you can swap out for the helmet too.
So that probably was the last year they done a hooded Commander.
Yeah. To me, that's one of the best looking. It's actually chrome plated. The helmet's chrome plated, so it's shiny.
Yeah, they actually did you could get that exact same thing in a blue. And then it comes with a hood too. You could swap out.
Right.
But it's the exact same body. The only weakness to that figure was the feet and ankles. It had the way it was designed. It was hard to stand up and stuff. But it was it's by many considered to be the best 3 3/4 inch they've released because it's clean, proportioned well, and all that stuff. I think they, it was, but I don't remember what line actually it was. It may just been the generic line because
I think it was in the. I'd have to look now. I forget which. I think it
was
actually
the one that had the interswappable heads, wasn't it?
Yeah, and basically that one I just showed you, it's the same one, but it's in black with red boots and red gloves and all.
Yeah, he also had a cape on that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, he's right though. This one here has got the same feet. It's got you can't move them because they're gonna break off. There's something about that weird. I don't know if you can see it. It's got a swivel there.
Yeah.
And man, this is the same body. It's just a little later. Those feet are horrible because they're going to break off. I'll show you. If you try to flex it at all, it starts to separate, and I don't dare do anything with it.
You got to heat them up. You got to put it in hot water.
Right.
So
nice job, Shane. That was
okay. So that was that Cobra Commander. That was a number 53, version 53, the one that you just had up there.
Yeah.
That you could swap out with the hood, and he actually come with a helicopter backpack.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was trying to find a picture of the.
That'd be weird.
Okay, so it's from the Retaliation.
Oh, okay.
Retaliation.
Yeah, it was the one that had the swappable heads.
Yeah, it's from the Retaliation.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yep.
The only thing wrong with those, they didn't have file cards on them.
Yeah.
That was my gripe about those.
Right.
But yeah, he's
interesting hands.
Feet, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand the Retaliation line. They were like not movie figures. They were actual, based from when we were kids.
Right.
They did have them. They also had the retaliation line from the figures from that movie.
Right.
There's two versions that you missed though.
Well, I missed a couple of versions because
The Dollar General versions.
Yeah.
well, yeah,
I think that's the
That
one he
was
mentioned.
the,
That was discount store.
yeah, the
They had a
discount
black
stores
and a blue.
Yeah.
only online retailers. Is
Yeah,
the one
exactly.
It was the version 52 one.
I know those black Cobra Troopers that was Dollar General. Those things are ridiculously priced now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, I was a manager, so I got plenty of jokes. I have bags of those. So
Yeah, and I remember they were hanging on shelves around here forever.
Oh yeah, I remember they didn't sell where I was. They didn't sell at all.
Not at all.
So interesting.
You could probably go to the store and get some Dollar Generals, and they still be sitting there right now,
Yeah, probably in some places. Yeah.
or out in the aisles, like in my Dollar Generals.
if they do, they got a good value because people sell them for $50-$40.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
What you got, John?
A lot of people didn't know they existed.
No,
This is
I haven't
the,
seen them.
That's the custom I got of this guy, but it's in the 25th style.
Mm.
Well, no offense, but it's pretty much as ugly as the original version.
I thought the darker blue looked a little better, but I got this from a guy off eBay, and he put a lot of detail into it.
Oh, yeah,
the helmet.
Yeah, they did a good job. I mean,
If you see the helmet, it's got the
Black Major.
Yeah.
Scales or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Black Major, now he doesn't really do customers as much as he's got a hold of the old molds, and that's what he's using.
Oh, okay.
I've got some of his
The helmet was a little weird, but the color scheme looked a lot better. If I'd have done this one look more like this, it would have been pretty cool.
Huh,
it's
nice.
like he just kind of give it up. And when I saw it, I thought, that's pretty neat. I'll get one of those.
Cool.
But yeah, it's still by far not anywhere close to being one of the best versions of Cobra Commander.
Read, John.
Yeah, read the comment.
Read the screen.
Yeah, in real estate schemes, you got to watch out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Trying to find that one where you had the blonde hair. That was kind of odd to me.
Actually, two of those versions of Cobra Commander, I think it's version 22, and I forget the other ones. Technically, those were Fred 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right. They were Cobra Commander, but it's when Fred was doing this thing.
I don't think did the original Cobra in the comics now did the original Cobra Commander actually wear that ever?
Where
I know
what?
he did in the cartoons.
I think later on in the comics he wore it. I believe. I'd have to go back and check that. But you're right. The first time he appeared, it was actually Fred 7 when he first appeared.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I know he did in the cartoons, but the comics I don't think
remember it.
he actually ever wore it. If he did, he may have wore it one or two times. Then Fred killed him and then took it. But it was
Fred killed him, and Raptor's the one that dug him back up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And Cobra Commander killed Raptor for doing that.
Yeah. Eventually. Yeah. Yeah. Eventually.
How dare you save me? You're weak.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he betrayed him first. He's like, I ain't forgetting all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
No memory loss here.
Yeah. I just love that. I mean, he just got more and more evil as you go through the file cards, and this gets worse.
Yeah. No doubt. What do you got this week, Rick?
It'd have to be because he runs a terrorist organization. If you're going to do that, you kind of got to be, it's kind of like being a gang leader. You got to kind of be the toughest of the tough, or at least the most ruthless.
Right.
And to the point that you don't got to do the stuff yourself, but there's somebody there that you can stroke with a pen or a little A.T.M. swipe. Here, take care of this for me.
Right. But the guy that does your dirty work still has to be afraid of you.
Well, that's true.
Because that's how that works.
There's always somebody to take him out as well.
Right. So,
but so you have to start looking at the old mobs and how the head bosses and stuff worked and all that stuff. They had a lot of power, but there was always somebody else right there to take their place, and
oh yeah,
loyalties and all that. And I'm sure that Cobra would be no more different than that. And
no,
no,
it wouldn't be any different.
Well, is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Yes, sir.
Oh Lord, I don't want it to. Not me. It's Jon. I mean Shane. What? No.
Rick. It's all for us.
All right. This is my part here where we talk about some awesome toy photography.
That's a good one.
This is I get these screens get on my nerves now. This is a little homage to some the vintage there. We've got the Serpentor and Cobra Commander in the armor, which we were just talking about. So that maybe that was Fred and Serpentor. I was never a fan of Serpentor. At no time that I ever liked that character. He honestly reminded me of my dad. Always bossing everything around, wanting it right then, no matter what. It had to be done now, and no matter what, he was the perfectionist and one of them do as I say, not as I do kind of things. And I'm like, so every time he talked, I'm like, shut up, Dad. Just shut. Somebody put a sock in his mouth or something like that. So I hate that it was Zartan that actually took him out in the comics. I wish the Cobra Commander would have popped him between the eyes or something and got his creds that way. You know what I'm saying? I was all about them creds. So anyways, simple shot, well lit, everything else. I'm kind of jealous of that Serpentor figure because it seems to have all its teeth.
Yeah.
Mine tend to not have survived. I think mine, if I could split the head, which actually I think people have done, I could put it together and have a good complete one. But of course, we've moved on now to the superior toy, which is the classified Serpentor. This is from my code name Steve, and he's in Cobra Island, so much respect there. Really dig this code name Steve. And what do we got next here? We're going to come to the classified here with the commander and a couple of CGs. Those CGs sure have turned out to be pretty popular.
Yeah.
And I was not the biggest fan of the commander figure when it came out. I really, really wanted a vintage that was like far removed from any version of Cobra Commander I've seen before and everything else. So it has grown on me over time. But this got a little smoke to it. Looks like Extreme Sets background, that Sector 7. It's a very popular thing for us toy photographers to use because it's very versatile for many, many things. A little mini lab kind of thing and set up and stuff. The smoke seems to be, I would almost say probably, really good. It's well lit and everything else. Kind of vanilla poses, but it really shows off the figures pretty well. It's by Emerald _Night _photos, and did a really great job there. Add a little sparkles to the tips of those bayonets, which was a nice little touch. So well done there, Emerald. Next, we have some vintage stuff. This is probably them two planning because what I liked about this one, action fig photos. You got the vintage Cobra Commander, the first hooded version stuff, but that looks like the Transformers background stuff with the probably Extreme Sets as well. But this little thing has got cannons. It looks like airplanes, and I don't know what that is, but I need one.
Pretty cool.
It must be really small because these are 3 3/4 stuff. But yeah, I need one.
Could that be Risk pieces?
What?
Little pieces out of the game of Risk?
You may have a point. Now I gotta go digging up old wrist game. Jeez, thanks, Shane.
You're welcome, Rick.
Jeez, my brother had that, played it forever.
You know, since this was up, we were talking about. I was disappointed in the Cobra Commander. This Destro, I don't know why they couldn't have gave us a chrome head on our Destro with our classified.
I don't know.
I mean, that was just Destro. But even in the vintage line, they got away from 3 3/4 and 4. They got away from that. It was just the paint and stuff. So a simple picture here and everything else. It's well lit, well shot, and all that kind of stuff. So action figure photos, good job there. This one I really, really like. It's probably Cobra Commander talking to himself, or maybe he's a religious type dude. Who knows? If it's evil as Jon just explained to us, he really is. I'm gonna tell him who to be praying to.
I think he'd probably be looking down and not up if he's praying.
Yeah, or maybe he's like, tempting the gods or the fates, or just asking for forgiveness. I don't know, but it's a very impressive
It's a nice shot.
picture. I know enough about the thing that there's a company that sells aerosol cans that create this fog, and I've not used it yet. Stuff I tend to try to get away from spending more on the accessories and stuff than the figure that's in the picture. So,
Right.
but those cans, a lot of toy photographers use them. They create some outstanding things. Plus, I'm kind of a control freak, and I like to, I can control what I want in Photoshop. But this is lit perfectly. It's really capturing. I wish it would have got a chrome face mask on the Commander here, but it's really lit up.
A little sparkle off of the face would have been awesome, huh?
Yeah, I mean it's what I call the Captain Crunch, Cobra Commander, but it's done really well by Toyographic Jedi. I don't know. We'll go with Jedi. Yeah, Toy Jedi. Yeah, from Bakersfield, California. Isn't that a song, Bakersfield?
Yep, Streets of Bakersfield.
Yeah. So that's what he's doing. He's looking down the streets of Bakersfield. I don't know what's going on, but
Not much. It's Bakersfield.
I know what he's doing. I told y'all it wasn't China doing them balloons. It was Cobra, and he's the one looking up the sky at them balloons.
Yep.
He's trying to see where that balloon went to. Anyways, Toyographic
Toyography Jedi. Toyography.
Impressive shot, sir, or ma'am, or however. It's impressive shot. So,
Nice.
Well, gents, that is the extent of my
Cool.
Some real good shots.
thing. So that leaves plenty of time. I'm sure hoping that we talked about the difference in action figures. You're going to cover the difference in personalities?
Yeah, because but at this point in time, we've got the file cards, right? We got the cards, the comics, and the cartoons. We all know the cartoon. I think we're all pretty well versed in what the deal was with Cobra Commander. He was just a cowardly, loudmouth, manipulator that also happened to be from a 40,000-year-old race of snake people that we found out during the movie. There is one question I've had about that, though, is exactly how old is Cobra Commander? I don't know.
They did describe him as a bright young nobleman. So, but what's young?
Exactly. And I'll talk about it in a second. But when you get to the Old Snake episode of Transformers, that Transformers was quite a ways into the future, was my understanding. Same continuity, but some years had passed. So how old is Cobra Commander? I guess is the question as far as cartoon continuity goes. Cartoon comic continuity, I guess it depends on which one you're talking about, because at this point in time, we've got the original Marvel run, plus we've got the Devil's Due run, plus IDW run. But the IDW had 2 runs, and there was some strange continuity stuff going on because you had Reloaded that was thrown into that mix, which was much like Classified, was a completely revamped G.I. Joe versus the IDW run with Larry Hama, which picks up at issue 156, right? Plus the IDW run that picked up at the issue 156, but only 7 years had passed, and you end up with this thing. The only variation that we have in cartoon timeline is Resolute, and I happen to have this version. This version from Resolute, this is my favorite Cobra Commander so far that I have, at least. I really like this figure. I like the design of it and everything. So I just figured I'd show you him. I've got a couple of different hooded versions. This one I'm not real crazy about. This one I actually like. And he comes with a cape too, but these soft good capes are iffy, I guess. I guess that's the best way of putting it. And they have different feet, thankfully. Even though the body buck is the same as this one, the feet are different. So I think they learned their lesson on that. So I think we've talked a lot about what ends up happening with Cobra Commander through the original Marvel run, which is he actually decides to retire and be a good father to Billy Kessler, who actually tried to assassinate him at the urging of and the manipulations of Major Blood and the Baroness. But that was actually what instigated Fred killing him and taking his place. Was he was going to leave anyways. So it's kind of a weird. That was kind of a weird jaunt in the comics, but he ended up coming back, killing a bunch of people, wiping out a lot of the other peripheral characters, getting into it with Serpentor, and then of course Serpentor gets killed. Right up until issue 300, that was just published 5 months ago. Cobra Commander was back and had been back, and there weren't any big huge transitions with his status. In the IDW run, Cobra Commander was an elected position. None of the hierarchy of Cobra knew that, but the run of the mill, infantry of Cobra organization had no idea that they could be dealing with a different Cobra Commander at any given time based on somebody coming, somebody going, somebody being elected. So for my 10 hut, first thing, in that IDW continuity, the first one is the complete opposite of what we had seen before in comic continuity. He was actually a successful business person. He was manipulative and he was evil, but he was actually successful in almost everything that he had put his hand to. So that's a pretty major difference right there. And I think that was in the Reloaded storyline that which was actually good. I have to go back and run those down. I had them, but I don't have them anymore. I got to run those down and reread that. But I do remember this. He was assassinated, as in there ain't no coming back. Dead is dead. It wasn't like the other assassinations we'd seen of Cobra Commander's versions over the years that had varying success rates, if you know what I mean. He was dead. He was murdered by this other character named Drake. And he came in, and this was much more, Drake was much more classic Cobra Commander. This guy was bad. This guy was just a bad worker. He was murderous, much more brutal, much more ruthless than honestly any of the Cobra commanders we'd seen before. So if you're ever into that, running down the old collected versions and stuff like that, check out that storyline because it was actually good. I think it ran for like 50 issues or so it wouldn't be horrible to get it all run down. But that Reloaded was actually pretty good. It started, rebooted everything, so that was an interesting run. Number 2, and at one point in time, he uses one of these devices actually to kill somebody. We talked about the helmet a lot, the mask versus the helmet. In the comic specifically, they didn't show it as much, but in the cartoon, Cobra Commander's helmet, it emits gas as protective defensive measures. It is lined with explosives, which they do go into in the comics, and it can actually emit electricity if it's tampered with. So the helmet of Cobra Commander in cartoons was pretty well stocked up for defense, so to speak. At one point in time, he actually tosses his helmet and uses it as a bomb in the comics and kills somebody, and I can't remember who it was, but he actually uses it as a weapon. Pretty effective one at that. So that's an interesting little tidbit about the helmet. It kind of reminds me of, and I can't remember which one came first. It kind of reminds me of Batman's mask being tamper-proof, so to speak. It's been pretty well weaponized so as not to be messed with. But I thought that was interesting. I didn't remember any of those things. I remembered the explosives, but in the comics, in the cartoons, I'm sorry, it's gas, electricity, or explosives. This is kind of one of those storylines where I think, and it's still with us, and I'm thinking it's still going to be with us. Even we're supposed to get an announcement this on the 1st of something's up with the comic license, but the only relatives that we know of Cobra Commander is an older brother named Dan. Now, somehow, I don't know how this works, but somehow, some way, Dan volunteered for service in Vietnam to keep his younger brother from having to go in the draft. His brother Dan came back pretty well messed up, and he was the drunk driver that kills Snake Eyes' family in the accident when they were on their way to the airport to pick up Snake Eyes from coming back from Vietnam. And somehow, some way, Cobra Commander ends up blaming Snake Eyes for the death of his brother. And that was one of the actual, well, what do you want to call it? One of the actual events that pushes Cobra Commander over the edge. It wasn't just being a failed used car salesman, and it wasn't just thinking that the government was out to get him and the rich versus poor stuff. It was actually something having to do with that idea that if it was somehow Snake Eyes' fault, and that's why the Hardmaster was ended up killed, and that's how Storm Shadow ended up in Cobra to begin with, to find out how that had all played out. I have to tell you, that whole storyline was really a bit of a stretch. It didn't really kind of make any sense, to be perfectly honest with you. Up until those issues, and those were in the 40s, I believe, when that whole thing came about, 44 or something like that, when the Softmaster sent the message that it was actually Zartan that had killed the Hardmaster. And I don't know, guys. That was a real stretch. I don't think those connections needed to be made. I'll say it to that way. But another, and I'm not sure which continuity these belong to, but in the Snake Eyes Declassified miniseries, and I remember this, in the comics, Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander actually are buddies, right? They actually go do all kinds of vigilante stuff, fight the power, fight the system. Let's, stand up for the little guy, until they basically had to part ways over some creative differences. Cobra Commander wanted Snake Eyes to kill a judge, and Snake Eyes apparently wouldn't go that far. So that was the impetus. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. The impetus of Cobra was this weird relationship that supposedly existed between old Coco and Snake Eyes from way back. I just don't see it. I don't see it being necessary, and I don't know why new younger writers kind of repeated the same mistake, if you ask me, but they did. And to be fair, it sold because Declassified ran for, it had like 3 different miniseries, if I remember right. Kind of splintered off into Master and Apprentice 1, 2, and 3. So, anyways, that's a weird fun fact that in one continuity in comics, Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander are actually partners in crime, so to speak, which was kind of weird. When the assassination attempts in the original book, it's interesting. Destro was the one that points out during this tribunal that Billy is actually Cobra Commander's son. How it is that Cobra Commander did not recognize his own son is a little odd to me, but didn't seem to recognize him at all, and still wanted him dead. He wanted to kill him. He wanted him murdered for the assassination attempt. So that's a strain of Cobra Commander in that comic storyline that runs much more parallel with what we saw in the file cards. This is a bad dude, and even though Destro got him turned down from killing his own child, he still put him through the brainwave scanner, which was pretty infamous for being a brutal torture device. So Cobra Commander in the comics had his moments of being vicious, and he does ultimately end up killing Billy. So, there's that. This was not a good guy. The cartoon portrayal was pretty lackluster compared to everything else, honestly. I'm going to read you this on the old Snake. I thought this was an interesting write-up because like I said, I seem to remember seeing this or hearing about it, but I just don't have a real good memory of it. In 1986 season 3's episode Only Human, a crime lord, Victor Drath, decided to get rid of the Autobots and turn to a mysterious man named Old Snake. Old Snake's technology transferred the minds of the Autobots into human bodies. What's important is that Old Snake was clearly the Cobra Commander. He wore the same mask, had the same voice, and we could see his scaly fingers through holes in his gloves, fitting with his transformation in G.I. Joe the movie. He's also described as having led a terrorist organization and at one point tried to yell Cobra before ending in a coughing fit. And I think the line that he used before that was something to the effect of, "They don't make terrorists like they used to." I guess I'd like to see it. I guess I got to look it up on YouTube. I didn't have time to do it today, but I'd like to see it. One of the other articles I read on that episode of Transformers says that he's wearing Serpentor's gauntlets underneath that coat, which somehow, some way, there's a story there that never got told. Not that I'm aware of anyways, but it says that he's wearing Serpentor's gauntlets under there. So that was interesting. And again, I don't know how far in the future the Transformers took place versus what was happening in G.I. Joe, but some time had passed. And I'd really be curious to know just exactly how old cartoon Cobra Commander is. But I don't seem to be able to find any information on that. This was interesting. I think maybe you guys have heard that Larry Hama, much later, decades later, from the original creation work that was going on in 1981, 1982 for these characters, he made the statement that he modeled Cobra Commander after William F. Buckley, which was kind of a cheap shot against, it was a political comment. It was made much later. It was a cheap shot at conservatives. The idea was that he was in love with the sound of his own voice, and that was his opinion of William F. Buckley, excuse me. And I think that was just a cheap shot. I think it was an attempt to make brownie points much later. It is interesting, though, very, very early on, what Larry Hama did say about Cobra Commander in the development of the cartoon specifically was when they came up with this voice, for some reason, Larry Hama, every time he drew or wrote Cobra Commander, he heard Orson Welles' voice coming from that hood or from that helmet. Can you imagine what a different thing that would have been if we'd had an Orson Welles type voice coming from that helmet or the hood? That would have been different. I don't think they couldn't have written him the way they did with that kind of voice. So that was kind of interesting, I thought. Point 9. When they first developed this, they had no villains because Hasbro was not going to produce any villains for the G.I. Joe line. They were under the impression that villains do not sell. And again, Larry Hama, just as an experiment, he fleshed out this idea of Cobra and presented it. And Hasbro bit. I think they kind of did begrudgingly, but they actually bit. They said, yeah, you know what, we'll try it. Cobra eventually accounted for 40% of G.I. Joe sales. Think about that. That's pretty amazing because it was nothing but army builders compared to mainline characters that, every Joe character was a mainline character, so to speak. Yeah, you go. Cool. 40%. I don't know if Star Wars could even say that villains took up 40% of their sales. That's pretty impressive. It's interesting. Yeah, his hands are definitely from the movie. I'm trying to figure out what gauntlets they were talking about. Looking at that, you see him? Do you guys see him? I don't see him.
I don't see him.
The elbow pads, maybe? No. That's interesting. Maybe it's just not in those stills, but somebody had written that you can plainly see that he has Serpentor's gauntlets on.
I wonder if he's thinking because Serpentor's gauntlets were green, but the fingers were gold. So I wonder if they think that's.
Oh, maybe. But yeah, that's definitely Coco, isn't it? I mean, there's no doubt about who that is.
Yeah, the voice kind of give it away.
Was he depicted as a like old or decrepit or anything, or just other than the coughing fit?
It's been a long time since
I gotta look it up.
Episode.
I gotta look it up and watch it again.
Yeah, me too.
And I don't know. You guys going last is hard because you guys do strip a few of my 10 huts away from me. And that's cool. Don't get me wrong. I just thought it was interesting. I read this today and I don't remember this, and I guess I'll find out soon enough that originally Cobra Commander hired Firefly to kill Snake Eyes. And Firefly came back and basically said, out of my league, buddy. But I know a guy that can. And that was the introduction between Cobra Commander and Zartan, was over this go to Japan and kill Snake Eyes. Interesting. I don't know. Again, there was a million and one ways to do something for a storyline there, but I don't think that was it. I have never really, I don't know what you guys think about it, but that storyline was always too, I don't know, too easy, I guess, maybe. It's too much. I just didn't see the point in it. Honestly, there didn't need to be any connection between, Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander. Not on that level. It just didn't make any sense. I get it. They had to come up with a reason why the Hardmaster was assassinated. They could have done any number of things to do that, but to draw this weird, really strained attempt to draw a connection between Cobra Commander and Snake Eyes is just kind of strange. I didn't get that one. Resolute. I will end on this one. Resolute was that continuity, and I guess most of us don't really believe that was an actual main timeline continuation of the cartoon, because it seemed like it was a different universe. Cobra Commander was presented in that movie, I guess is the best way of putting it, as the bumbling idiot, whiny coward was all a ruse to root out traitors. Which I think was their way of kind of redeeming the character somehow, from the years in the cartoon. The Resolute Cobra Commander, that line where "I've got you like fish." I mean, that's a vicious individual.
I loved it.
Resolute is awesome, if you ask me. I like everything about that from the minute that it starts until the minute that it ends, and the PSA at the end, "Ninja? I didn't know we had a ninja." that one cracks me up. But that was, I don't know. I'd love to see an animated storyline on that level, where this SOB is just a rotten, miserable, despicable, murderous human being that really doesn't mind getting his own hands dirty, and is a capable human being on top of that. You know what I'm saying? You don't build a world-class terrorist organization just with Ponzi schemes and soap pyramid. It's not, that doesn't happen. I did see an interesting story though. Back in I think it was 92, 93. You guys can look it up. That Springfield, Illinois actually was the host of G.I. Joe convention one year. And they had a guy dressed as Cobra Commander with the mayor of Springfield do this little press conference thing. You guys ought to look that up, because that's actually pretty comical. Just goes to show you how culturally G.I. Joe still, I still think has the potential to be a major player culturally. I really do. We talked a little bit about some of the comparisons of the 1980s and now, politically, socially, everything else. This country needs its heroes. And G.I. Joe was that in the 1980s. I think the timing was perfect. I just wish Hasbro could see that for what it is now, because we really need our heroes. And if you're going to have heroes, you got to have the other side of the mirror. You've got to have villains. And the bigger the heroes you need, the worse the villains you got to generate. And you know what? They could do it. They could do it. There's entire storylines that are falling in on themselves right now. If you look at what's going on, I'm off my 10 hut. Now I'm on my soapbox. If we're watching the MCU fall in on itself, right? Other than The Mandalorian, Star Wars is, as much as I've loved it for all of these years, it's dying. It's been done to death, literally. They seem to keep kicking everything else in the butt and trying to regenerate, revive, redo, reload, whatever you want to call. Everything just seems to continuously fall flat on its face. I'm telling you, man, I firmly believe if done right, G.I. Joe could be revived in a major way and make another big cultural splash. Oh, yeah. I really do. That's my opinion. Of any other fictional franchise, I think G.I. Joe could be the one that could really make a big difference. That's my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but it did it before.
I feel the same way. When they first announced the Snake Eyes origin movie, everybody was hyped up for that movie.
Big time.
And then all of a sudden it hit theaters and it was trash.
It was bad.
I mean, and people can say, "Oh, well, you don't like it because of an Asian with snake eyes." That has nothing to do with it, man.
Nope.
It's the simple fact that the whole writing was trash.
Yep.
And I understand they check their boxes and all that bull crap with it, but you're not selling these movies and stuff to teenage kids. You're not selling it to 20-year-olds. You're selling it to 40-plus-year-old men.
Well,
That's
like it or not, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's just something I feel like they need to, and they can capitalize on that easily because 40-year-old men are spending money.
I couldn't agree with you more, Shane. It didn't the so-called race swap and all this other stuff. You know what? That's not what the problem was with that movie. That's not at all what the problem the fans were really kicking back against with that movie. That's pretty stupid. I mean, you're talking about a character that's masked. I mean,
you did have
ultimately
people that were pissed off about it, you know, but
yeah, but you know how that goes.
Everywhere you go.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the least of that movie's issues. I was really, really looking forward to that. I was let down badly because it just wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, I was scrolling through a page the other day on Facebook, and they were talking about the Snake Eyes figures still hanging on shelves.
Oh yeah.
And someone said, "Well, it's because you white dudes don't want to buy a black or Asian character."
That's a cop out.
That's that's racist right there to me.
Well, it is, and it's an easy explanation for. It's an easy explanation for really bad writing.
Mm-hmm.
What amazed me is that it was 5 figures in the movie set.
Yeah,
3 of them were female, and female characters do not sell well.
No,
Hasbro knows that.
Especially with Scarlett, who was on screen for a whopping 3 minutes at the end of the movie.
What guys? You can't say that about the females because Valueverse going against Todd McFarlane's interview with you've got in the toy community. I know y'all are GI Joes. I'm talking about Marvel Legends, all that. You got people that are throwing Todd McFarlane under the bus because he refused to make a whole toy line based upon female characters because they don't sell. And he went on, he in an interview with Shartimus Prime about that. Well, now you got a bunch of collectors and influencers that are all being cucks because they're, I'm a simp, so I'm going to bash stuff like that, all because Valueverse come out and they initially sold. And
sure.
A lot of female figures do initially sell because people are completists. Let's see, it's horse crap because everyone's trying to be the champion or the old phrase Captain Save-A-Hose because they think they can be the champion of the females. I'm going to save womankind because guys aren't trying like. But I went to Walmart today. It's still packed full of Baronesses, and we all love Baroness, but they're still freaking there.
Yeah.
Lady J's.
And the Lady J's.
You can't put nothing else there because they're still there. And yes, there are still Snake Eyes movie characters, Scarlet and Storm Shadow, still there.
Yep.
Princess Leia's.
And as far as the race swapping thing, the problem with race swapping is that the race is that in order to race swap someone, you have to change their origin story.
Right.
Right.
And every time they've tried to do that, it's failed, but they keep doing it.
Yeah, but why? I mean, I guess I'm confused by that. Why couldn't Snake Eyes and Tommy have been veterans of the Gulf War? Why not? Tommy Arashikage was in the United States Army because he grew up in California because that's where his mother lived. Nobody batted an eye at that. Nobody said, that's ridiculous. There's no Japanese guys in Vietnam. Nobody said that in 1982 or whatever it was, 1984. Why couldn't Snake Eyes and Tommy have encountered each other in Iraq or Afghanistan? There was absolutely no reason why they couldn't have. There was something else going on with Snake Eyes, the origin movie, is they were falling back on that original G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, with this international bit right? Snake Eyes isn't even in the military in those movies. Snake Eyes is not a military veteran at all.
No.
He's some street punk that got 20 minutes of ninjutsu training, right? According to Origins. Let's look at the timeline here. He's hanging around for a couple of months, and now all of a sudden he's on this par with Tommy and the rest of them. Get real. The basis of Snake Eyes' skill set was Army Ranger training at Fort Benning, right?
Yep.
That's the truth.
Yep.
Why couldn't that have been a fact in Snake Eyes' origin? If you want Snake Eyes to be Japanese, I don't care. And that's not because he wears a mask. It's because I don't care. You see what I'm saying? I care that Snake Eyes was a U.S. Army veteran.
Right.
That's what I care about, because that's where the heroicism comes from. That was the root of Snake Eyes being a hero, was his service to his country.
Exactly.
Right. There was a reason why that was not included, and we all know it was political. It was as political as the race swap. It was as political as the highlighting of female characters, if you want to, all of it. The lack of representation from the United States military of any branch in Snake Eyes Origins was the big political push. And that's where they missed the mark, because, like I said, the beginnings of his heroism was his service to his country. That's it.
Well, it's kind of like the rise of Cobra, the movie, when it first, if you would have took G.I. Joe out of that and stuff, it would have been a good action movie.
It would have been better.
Because they used G.I. Joe and they built up this thing, and they part of them, like, you had the whole command structure change, you had the race swapping, you had it's like the gender swaps and all that stuff taking place, and it's like, if you weren't trying to make a G.I. Joe movie, it's almost like they made the movie and go, well, let's just change some names and we can call it a G.I. Joe movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and then the retaliation. Roadblock's never been the leader. He's the strong guy. He's the muscle behind Duke or Flint or So, but it changes the chemistry and the balance of what you had going on with that whole Joe universe.
Right. Exactly. Right. And that's
where,
Well, we've all heard this phrase, why fix something that's not broken?
Right.
Storyline is not broken.
This new people out there making this stuff that I have never heard that.
Well, they need to learn it, because their stuff they're putting out is crap.
You probably heard that from your dad, and since a lot of them never had a dad at home, then that's probably why.
Probably why.
I think one of their biggest things is because these movies, even the Marvel movies, they make more money overseas than they do in the U.S. So they're trying to make they're trying. They think a movie about an American army is not going to really go over well in other countries, so they want to make it international, where they're based in Egypt. And why not just include characters from Action Force and some of the others and put them together?
Right.
You could do that, and still.
That's a good point.
Go to the U.S., that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. But you know what? We got to get to a point where we start looking after our own best interest, because we're in desperate need of our heroes back. I was sitting here last night. My youngest daughter, she's going on 23, still here, whatever. I see this stupid thing where it's got this young guy, Mr. Tank top. I've been at the gym, right? And it says, the closed captioning says, how is it that these old guys are so strong, but they never go to the gym? And I read that to my daughter, and she's basically saying, Dad, the generation doesn't have any respect for you. You don't get, and it's just like, no, they don't, because, there's a reason some of us old guys got strong, because we had to work. Right. there wasn't either time or money or interest, honestly, to go to the gym. But that's it fundamentally, isn't it? There isn't any respect for what came before them. They are convinced that they have a better way and they're on a mission to improve it, right? And they're killing everything that they lay their hands to. They're wiping it out. And ultimately, they don't care because it either conforms or it dies, right? And that's kind of the attitude that I think we're dealing with a lot of this stuff.
Well, in a way, it's not their fault. For years,
No,
for years, civilization, the way of civilization, was demonized to the point that it was referred to as white supremacy.
right.
Yeah.
That if you lived according to the norms and you mind your manners, respect your parents, you ate with silverware, all this stuff that we built.
Everything.
Yeah, maybe you can say white man. People built a civilization that taught us how to live, coexist next to each other with different cultures and all that, but we still able to get along because we had these rules. Some were very unspoken rules, just out of respect and everything else.
Right.
Well, that all got demonized.
Right.
So once you demonize something, then you try to figure out a way around it and everything else, and it was always left up because a study I read a few years ago said that the problems we face now is due to overpopulation. Because at overpopulation, society tends to favor the individual, where before society tended to favor the village. The village was important. The whole society was important. But nowadays we worry about the individual. And if the individual is not happy, then we got to make that individual happy. And there are people on this planet that are never happy. They don't, that concept never reaches them.
Because
but they've been programmed to think that the old ways are bad ways because of racism and colonizing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, it's like they've got words for everything. They'll put a title on everything, even though our generation, we were told we don't have to put labels on anybody. We don't do labels. If you showed up with your friend and go, well, I didn't know your friend was black. I'm like, well, I didn't know I had to tell you he was black.
Exactly.
He's a friend of mine.
Right.
Well, nowadays you have to. You got to go, oh, I'm coming with John. By the way, John's black. John's red. He's green. You know,
right.
Stuff. So I'm like, when we were young, it didn't matter. John was a cool guy. We wanted to hang out with John. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
So, but now it's not that way anymore. And Lord, if they're part of, you know, the LGBTQ plus community, then you're like, you can't keep up with that. So they get mad, but I'm like, dude, or dudette, whatever the case, or mom, whatever. It's like, I can't keep up. You know, it's like, what are you today? Do I say meow, ruff, or are you even human? You know, so you can't keep up and stuff. So, but it's just politics has become. We keep getting more polarized and more polarized. I argued online yesterday about school shootings. There are like 1,104 some thousand schools in this country that kids go to school every day safely, everything else. Last year, there was one actual school shooting.
Exactly.
Now, if you look up the numbers, there's 11 showed up on the thing and more, but because two gang members didn't like the outcome of a basketball game and shoot each other in the parking lot. That's not a school shooting.
No, it happened at a school.
Now, one school shooting period is one too many. And God forbid that an innocent, especially the Habali or whatever that was, those freaking elementary school, that's just
Sandy
evil.
Hook was
that's
horrible.
The face of freaking evil. And that happened. But we got the whole world pointing fingers at us like you would think that these things happen every freaking day. And then
every week, every month.
Statistically speaking, they're more likely to die on a school bus going to school than from a school shooting. I mean, it's like, so, but the right and the left push this narrative because the right wants to get the students out of the schools. They want you to homeschool everybody, which is going to cause another gap in civilization.
Well,
you're going to have the world, and then you're going to stuff, and it's the same thing as, you know, and we don't have, like you're saying, we don't have heroes. They've all been discredited.
Yeah.
We don't have leaders because
Nope.
they're all been discredited.
They're all
There's
cowards.
no one to, unless one of the gods themselves come down, and then again they would be met with so much scrutiny they just get fed up and leave. Stuff. You go with Christianity when Jesus shows up, he's gonna be like, never mind. And he's just gonna go back because it's like these people are hopeless.
Well, but see, this is the thing. As a culture, we can't sit here. We can't sit here having actively been digging the hole that we find ourselves in for as long as we have. We can't actually sit here now and going, I can't believe how deep this is.
Well, it's deep.
You know what I'm saying? And that seems to be where we're at, right? Because it's just like, oh, geez, what do we do now? And the common consensus seems to be give up, right? Because it's just too deep. Oh, the problems are just too big. This is where we need heroes. This is where we learn to overcome. Right?
But that's not new, Dave. That's you had the inner cities. You're from up in a bigger. You had the inner cities, and the crime started going up. Instead of people banding together and stopping that stuff, they moved to the suburbs and they leave it. Well, now they're chasing out of the suburbs and they're going to the country. Right. Eventually, there's nowhere to retreat to, and that's about where we're getting. Well, there's nowhere to retreat. You're gonna have to stand up and say enough of this crap.
Well, look,
Oh, you messed with this word.
You what?
You about said the S word.
Yeah, no.
It's because John, man. I got all respect for John, right?
I agree, man. Just think 10 years ago, movies was all about Lone Survivor, American Sniper.
Yeah.
And now look where we've gone. It's crazy. We were idolizing our heroes.
Yep.
And now we're throwing them under the bus.
We don't have any.
There is that movement to soften, feminize, all that kind of stuff. The male, at least
the toxic,
at least certain males, and it's paid off pretty well because, I watch videos all the time of these beatings that are going down, and I'm sitting there going, my main question is, why aren't these people fighting back? I watched this girl. These 3 girls were just beating her, punching her in the face. She just sits there.
Yeah.
Don't even try to. I'm not going to sit there and just get beat on.
You guys,
I don't understand.
See, this is the thing. When I first started going through active shooter training, the FBI pushed hard fight or flight principles, right? It was fight or flight. Those were the human reactions. Right, this was a number of years ago, but it's like Shane just mentioned that this 10-year mark seems to be about it, because it was about 8 years ago. They had to add another category to the human reaction to a high stress event, which was freeze, right? Because people freeze because they become so overwhelmed. The fight or flight doesn't even activate anymore. They stop. Now, as of about 18 months ago, FBI has added a 4th human reaction. It's fight, flight, freeze, or feign, which is even worse than you faint away or slip into a catatonic state because you don't have any coping mechanism for any kind of fear input. They go into a state of shock where they feign. And it's just like, I'm watching this stuff and it's just like, okay, so fight or flight made sense. Freeze was discovered to be happening more and more and more, statistically speaking. So they had to add it, right? Now they're seeing feign, which is statistically is happening more and more. It's like you're just saying, Rick, why don't these people fight back? Is because they're literally in a state of shock because their normalcy bias is screaming at them that this cannot be happening. I'm a good person. I don't deserve this. This is what's processing through their brain while they're getting the snot kicked out of them. It doesn't have anything to do whether you're a bad person or a good person. Doesn't matter if you deserve this or not. None of those things matter. That's not what's happening here. You are involved in a predatory incident, right? The antelope never says to the lion, oh, I don't deserve this, right? The lion is saying, I'm taking advantage of you for my own survival, right?
Yep.
That's where we're at. Heroes used to teach us how to react, right? We practiced these things as kids. We practiced them with our figures and our tanks and our sticks and our rocks and our BB guns and all of these. We practiced stress, right?
Yep.
Every one of us encountered a bully in school, and I don't care how big you were or anything else, because there was always a bigger kid because there was always older kids, right? Fight or flight was a real thing, right? You had two options. You were going to run or you were going to fight, right? We didn't freeze or feign or any of those other things. If we chose flight, you know what? Maybe that was the best decision. And somebody was going to come along and tell you, you know what? In that particular instance, that was the best decision you could have made, right? Release you from all of that shame and everything else that you get because, you know, hero worship can be a downside too. But these kids, we don't have any of this anymore. No one is teaching us how to be. When we talk about individualism, I agree with you to a point, but the problem with it is the other half of individualism isn't being taught, which is self-responsibility. If you're going to be an individual, you have to take responsibility.
Yep.
No, because if you don't feel like it, you don't have to.
Exactly. So I can always fall back on the village, right? Well, sometimes that village is just not going to be there for you.
Well, let's go to some core things. How many kids you think ever read the story of Samson?
Not many anymore.
Does all four of us know that story?
Sure do.
Do we know these?
Yeah.
I mean, all through history, there was mythologies. They weren't historical things trying to say a horse. It was like a parable. It's you read it, you seen the representation, you seen how that hero dealt with that situation, right, and stuff. And you know, it's like the boy that cried wolf. Was there ever a boy that cried wolf? Who knows? But that ain't the purpose of the story.
It was a cautionary tale.
Yeah, it's supposed to tell you not to be lying, because when you need so we grew up with those stories. Yep. Now kids don't have them anymore.
Nope.
There's nothing to stuff, because and when you get to religion, a lot of that stems from religion and beliefs that run to our core values. Religion is fading out in a way that's just it's almost that it's become a joke to a whole lot of people and stuff, and it's
my nephew, he's born in 84, so he'll be 40 next year, 39 this year. He posted a thing that he's kind of finally growing up, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. He's kind of finally growing up. He posted this thing the other day about the generation below him, that they are the loneliest, the saddest, the most hopeless generation that really has ever been recorded on planet Earth. And he just kind of threw it out there because he doesn't have any answer to it. And my answer to that was, they're also the first generation that has been programmed not to listen to the answers to their own questions. Mm-hmm. Right? They've been put in a hopeless state and then programmed to stay there because they cannot process, they cannot accept the answers to their problems. Because somehow in their egotistical minds, they already have the answers. But the problem is, the practical thing is they don't work and they're falling in on themselves. You're 100% right, Rick. Religion in every form, almost every form, is in serious decline. And you're also right that heroes were always meant to back up our morality, right? And our morality, our base moralities were coming from our faiths, our religions, right? You strip one, there's no need for the other. Right? These heroes They don't need reinforcement because you've already ripped the foundation out from underneath the house.
Well, the main
You don't
thing
need a
religion,
roofer when you got no foundation.
the main thing that all religions give everything in society is there is accountability.
Exactly.
When you live in a world that no longer holds you accountable, do what you want.
That's right.
So, all of us, I think, in this group believe in a higher power that one day will judge us for the actions of us on this planet. Stuff. So, and if you don't, then
so what?
Who cares? You do what you want. The old Wiccan read is do what you want as long as you do no harm. They don't even do that because they don't care to hurt people.
Oh no.
So because again, that's just another kooky religion. But
I got to tell you, 3 weeks ago now, I'll share this and then we probably time wise, just to give you a perfect example of this. House down the street, right there. Before this episode ended last night, the third drive-by since we've lived here. Microphones didn't pick it up. That's why my wife came through the door. By the time I went upstairs to find out what was going on, and I stepped into the bathroom, all hell broke loose just down the street here. Right? I've talked to this kid repeatedly about this. So I grabbed a pistol. It was raining like crazy that night. I grabbed a pistol, went outside and stood in the road, started yelling. Are you hit? Are you hit? Are you all right? Are you hit? Because I've already dealt with the sheriff's department with this deal already. They'll knock on the door, he won't answer, and then they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And they've told me repeatedly, if he doesn't answer, there's nothing we can do. I said, so if he's hit and bleeding out, we just wait for the stink? I guess I don't understand what's going on here, but I mean, I don't mean to be crude, but that's what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. So you know what? I'll kid up and I'll stand out in the road and I'll yell until I get a response from that kid to make sure he's not hit. When they drop 20 rounds into a house, he's going to get hit one of these times. And I've told him, boy, you're going to die. You don't quit hanging around and messing around with these people. You're going to die. Well, guess what? Sheriff's department shows up. We're out there in the rain. We're mapping out cases and everything else. And I'm talking to them and I'm showing them where one guy stood and I'm showing them where the other guy was inside the car because you can look at all of that stuff in the shell casings and everything else, blah, blah, blah. He still wouldn't answer the door. And off they go. The minute the cops leave, the neighbor at the next house, young girl, about the same age as the kid that's getting shot at, he finally, I'm still yelling, you hit. He finally, who dat? I said, it's a neighbor. Are you hit? Nah, I ain't hit. It's like, are you all right? Yeah, I'm okay. Is anybody else in the house? He won't answer me. Girl sticks her head up. Hey, whatever his name is. Hey, so-and-so. You're all right? He says, yeah, I got strafed. She says, you got strafed? He says, yeah, I got strafed. And then they close the doors, and I'm standing there in the rain. The deputies are gone. The cases are still in the road. Every other neighbor has pulled their shades down just tight as they can get them, right? And I'm just kind of standing there going, this is a joke. This is a joke. The people that drove by, this is going to sound harsh, but you know what? The people that drove by didn't give one lick about who did or didn't get hit by any one of those bullets. And you know what's even worse, guys? You know what's even worse? The boy inside that house didn't give one lick about who got hit with one of them bullets, including himself, because he don't know enough to.
Sounds like Cobra commanders took over the world.
So that gets deep, but you know what? We need our heroes.
Kick
that puppy.
That's how bad he is. Kick a puppy.
Kick a puppy. We got plenty of really bad villains. We desperately need our heroes. And you know what? I wish somebody from Hasbro would watch more things like this to hear what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Hear what we're saying. You know, this culture desperately needs its heroes.
We painted a picture of a society that they don't support anymore.
Yeah, exactly right. Thank you. That's the truth.
We're artifacts, dude.
I know.
All four of us. We're just old artifacts that
Yep.
need to dry away and blow away in the dust.
Right. Well,
our way of thinking, everything. So
I'm not going anywhere. You know, I'm just arrogant enough to be eternal about this.
well,
I'm not
they
going.
they say good guys die young and prick and assholes live forever. Well, I'm gonna be here for a minute. So, according to people,
Yeah.
not me saying that. I'm just, I think I'm a nice guy, but
So, you know what, guys, everybody that's listening to this, keep it up. Keep promoting your heroes. You know what? Support the lines that you can. I'm thinking about Dacre and his Kickstarter. Boy, that is. I looked at that and I have to tell you that is big time ambitious. Talking about sizable sums of money, but you know what? He's trying. That's a man that's trying.
It's weird. It's weird. You had two biblical lines start the same day.
It is strange.
Except the other ones actually biblical characters. I guess you would say there are more real biblical characters.
Yes, right. Historical, right?
There's like Jesus and Moses and so.
Right.
Now, if you're going to collect the Raiders of the Lost Ark figure line coming out here with Indiana Jones, one of the accessories in that toy line is a beautiful Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I just want the Ark of the Covenant,
Just don't open it.
Huh?
Just don't touch it. Don't touch it. Gentlemen, what an absolute pleasure. I know we get off on stuff, but you know what?
Before we leave, I got a way of closing this, okay?
Do it.
All right. Before we leave, let's get right here. Da-da-da-da-da. Let's share this.
Man, he walks fast.
He sure does. At least 55.
This is the coughing fit. Must have been, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
The thing I wonder about is in one of the earlier episodes of the cartoon, Destro walks in while Cobra Commander's eating without his hood on. And he looks like he's kind of grossed out, but you'd think he's like, he's blue. What's going on here?
Yeah, right.
Not only is he gross when he's eating, but he's blue. He's not even human. You think that would have been a dead giveaway there, earlier on.
I hate Cobra Law. That whole storyline is just it got into that fantasy realm thing when they were in space. I just screw all that crap, man. It should be, that whole movie should be stacked up outside and burn on a pyre, and hopefully people forget about it after a while. So
what they should have done at the very end is just have Lowlight wake up.
That would have been
cool. There you go.
Right. One of his nightmares,
That would have been a good one. Nice. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure again.
As always, fellas.
Great job. You guys that are watching and listening, you know what? You can comment on stuff even if it's not live. That wouldn't hurt a thing.
Mm-hmm. Buy a t-shirt.
Buy a t-shirt was where I was going next. Buy two. That's right. Buy two.
No, we're not going to make any money off these, by the way, for the one.
Oh, no. You're not. I am, but you're not going to make any money. No one's making any money.
For the money.
I don't think the printer's even making much money off of them because this is small run stuff, and those prices are very good. So
she's an old friend, and she's helping us out with it.
Nice. So yeah, let's start thinking about Toylanta at the end of holy cow. Wednesday is March 1st. That's
24th and 25th. Correct.
Less than a month away. 3 weeks away, basically.
About it because I have to work, so I don't want to think about it.
And I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what my position will be. Possibly prone for a long time, so I'm not sure. I get a better idea on that Wednesday. So if you're so inclined, you can pray about that because I'll take it. How's that? So yeah, another great episode. We ran long, but hey, it was important. Support your heroes. And you know what? Support your community, support your local group, because we need some encouragement too, guys. We have fun, and we got a cool little friendship going amongst ourselves and everything else, doing these and prep work and the discussions that have to happen. But you know what? Some support. Nancy's been great. Phil's been great. Corey's always great because he's always here. Jared, thank you for jumping on tonight. Yeah, but you know what? We need some encouragement. So never hurts. Just doesn't hurt. So with that, let's hang it up, gentlemen, and start getting ready for next week. What do you think?
Yep.
Sounds good.
I'm done.
Yep. Good night, all.
Happy hunting, everybody.
Joe.
John, you kind of going to get this anytime soon?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
You're like Shane. You leave me with toys forever.
I got a Froster underneath the back seat of my truck that's been there for a while because I was going to go up to John's and I haven't been able to do it.
I'm hitting in now, guys.